is Tyrese Halliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast. It is 11:37 p.m. as we're recording this. I've got my iced coffee in hand because it is time to talk about the 15th loss of the season out of 17 games for your Indiana Pacers. They lose 122-117 to the Detroit Pistons, trying to break the 12-game winning streak from the Pistons, but it does not end up happening. The Pistons win this one by 5, extend the winning streak to 13. And Facci was supposed to be joining me for this, but he had a family emergency happen on Monday night, so had to find a pinch hitter, and who better to find than my good friend Casey on the drums. Casey Johnson, the man who met Tyrese Halliburton tonight.
I did for the second time. You know, I'm starting to think that if I just meet Tyrese Halliburton after every game, somehow I will just end up being the new co-host. Because the first time that I ever joined you for a post game was after I met Tyrese the first time.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Because I remember that day you messaged me and I was like, you were like, hey, you want to record after tonight? And I was like, so I'm meeting Tyrese. Alex wants me on the show tonight. And then that was a game that was like a really dramatic win over the Nets or something like that too. And so that was just like a crazy day from start to finish. And we got there today and, you know, we found out about the meet and greet. And then after the game, we're getting in the elevator to go down to the meet and greet. And you text me and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This like what's old is new again.
What's old is new again is right. And speaking of what is old is new again, Jarace Walker hitting shots from outside, and my oh my,
yes,
it was great to see tonight. Jarace Walker ends up having what I did not realize was a career high, 21 points in this game on 8 of 10 shooting, 5 of 6 from 3. Everybody that has been, you know, putting Jarace down, they've been kicking him while he's down. I've been part of it. Facci's been part of it. Other podcasts have been part of it. It's not been pretty for Jarace Walker this year, but my oh my, it was really good to see him get some shots to fall, and honestly just play better overall. I was just so happy for the young guy because you can tell things are very mental with Jarace, and for this, his spirits were lifted, and I'm hoping that this is a sign of things to come and not just a blip on the radar.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know me. I'm such a human element guy when it comes to the way that I look at sports. Because, you know, like what are all of these guys' lives like right now when you're in, you know, when you're in a skid like this and when you're having a season that's so disastrous, like that takes such a toll on you mentally. And a lot of these guys are so young. They've never been through this before, you know, like a lot of these guys joined a team who was ready to do a lot of winning and has done a lot of winning. And this is some of the first adversity they've really faced in their professional career. And Jarace is one of those guys. And for me, you said something that was so key. You said that it's so mental with him. And that's what I keep seeing over the course of all of these games. Really, I'm less happy. I'm really happy about the shots falling, but I'm less happy about the shots falling than I am just seeing him be decisive, consistently decisive, because it seems to me that one of his biggest problems is just between his ears. Like when he allows himself to think, that is when he ends up making, you know, the play that halts the run or the play that starts the run for the other team. Meanwhile, when he just operates off of his basketball instinct and doesn't give himself time to think and is just decisive, does something, goes with it, he's a plus player. He just has to figure out how to get out of his own way. And tonight was a fantastic example of getting out of his own way, being within his game, and that finally seems like he's just letting himself be out there and seeing what happens, which usually that's when an athlete really starts to excel.
What were you seeing from him when he was going through the struggles he was going through?
And, you know, sometimes it's just a half or 3/4 of a second can be the difference in this league. And you see, like, he gets the ball and you can physically see him almost say, okay, I'm driving it and then he kind of stops himself.
Hmm.
And because it's almost like sometimes he makes an incorrect read because he's making a read at all. Like he catches the ball in a lot of situations where he is at the end of the action and his job is to score the ball, but he is thinking so much, do I swing it? What do I? And a lot of times the biggest mistakes that he's made have been telegraphing passes over, three defenders that he shouldn't be trying to throw a cross court pass anyway, when
Hmm.
he should just be scoring. And I feel like it's finally gotten through to him that, like, when you're at the end of that play, you don't need to think about it. You don't need to wonder if, Matherin is open in the corner. You don't need to wonder if Pascal still needs to get his. If you're in a position where your first thought is, I can take this ball and I can put it in the hoop right now, take the ball and put it in the hoop because that's
Hmm.
what the team needs ultimately in order to win, especially when everybody has such inflated roles because of the hellscape that we're living in currently.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And I mean, I love what you mentioned earlier, just being decisive with his decisions, right? Like attacking straight at the basket instead of
Mm.
the willy nilly shots, the fadeaways, the floaters, like getting to the rim, getting to the open spot that's there on the court and not settling. Because I feel like too often Jarace is a guy that settles, but I'm just looking here at the second half stats because he really did have kind of an explosion there in the second half, but he had 16 points and he
Mm.
led the team in scoring in the second half. Pascal Siakam had 13, TJ McConnell had 8, Isaiah Jackson had 7, Jay Huff had 5. And what are you not hearing here? Ben Mather and Andrew Nimhard. Those two combined for just 9 points in the second half. And honestly, like it's kind of a tale of two games, right? Because you go back and you look at the game against the Cavs, and it was the core four were incredible. Mather and Nimhard, Siakam had like 79 points. TJ McConnell off the bench had, I forget how many, it was 4 of 6 from the field. So I think he had like 10 points or whatever it was, 12 points maybe. But the rest of the guys were like 6 of 32. And so you're just like, can the supporting cast do anything in this game? Well, the supporting cast has 58 points off the bench.
Mm.
And you're like, okay, a game where you have 58 points off the bench, the first time your bench has really kind of been explosive, and your number 2 and your number 3 guy just struggle to put the ball in the basket. I mean, that has kind of been the season that has been for the Pacers this year, but like, hopefully there's something they can build off of. And I think one thing that maybe hasn't been touched on enough is this the last handful of games. I would say the last 3 games, I think we've had the same starting 5. So
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more continuity with that starting 5 and then with the bench rotation compared to, oh, this night Tony Bradley and Jeremiah Robinson are all starting. Oh, this night Jay Huff is starting next to Jarrison Shepard. Oh, who's the point guard? Oh, we don't have a point guard, so that's going to be Shepard. Okay, like it's just
Yeah.
you just think about all the ebbs and flows this season has had, but I think over the last 4 games we've really started to see some continuity, and they played some really tough teams. I mean, you beat the Hornets, you lose to the Cavs, you lose to the Pistons. The game before the Hornets, I believe, was the Pistons on the road. So it's like you've played the two of the top 3-4 teams in the East, and you were competitive the last 2 games against both those teams. That is a sign of improvement to me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I was talking to my wife about this on the way home. But like it seems like, and granted, this is obviously, it goes without saying, this is not the discussion you want to be having after going to game 7 of the finals, but like it's where we are. And part of it isn't their fault, and part of it is their fault, right? But because they have been through so much. And I mean, that affects the on-court play. Like every time you go into the locker room, another one of your friends is gone and another stranger is there. Like, tell me you're going to play your best. You're not. And it's one of those things where finally they're starting to get closer and closer to figuring out what the formula for a Pacers win in the 2025-2026 season is going to look like. And it's like inching closer and closer. And one thing we know about this team, once they figure out what it looks like, they can replicate it. But through even, nearly the first 15 games of the year, I am you know, my heart is breaking for the people like you and Fauci and Tony and Caitlin and Dustin and all of these people who have to do analysis on something that's unanalyzable at the end of the day to
Yeah.
a certain extent. You have to apply logic to an illogical situation. And it's just now we're starting to see exactly like you said, it's continuity. And not only that, it's the continuity that breeds success. It's almost like finally you've got a stable ecosystem. And so now all of the like individual plants in that ecosystem can figure out exactly the way that they need to serve that ecosystem. When you get continuity, not only are you getting the same guys and finally you're getting a routine and all of that, but within the course of the game, Jarace Walker can figure out what he's supposed to be for this team
Hmm.
because Jarace Walker was a bench guy and then he was a starting guy. And at one point, I think he was a point guard for a minute. And he's not, I mean, he's having trouble just figuring out exactly what role he's supposed to play. Almost everybody has been. But now that you have, okay, these are at least the defined slots in the batting order, as it were, everybody can figure out exactly what they need to do together to contribute to a win.
No, that's a great point because it's just been so much flux, right? There's nothing
Yeah.
that's been consistent, and I think the batting order is a great way to put it because you kind of know, oh, if I'm the seventh hitter, I'm gonna get better looks than maybe the guy
Mm,
that's batting third and fourth because the guy that's batting third is your biggest threat, and the cleanup guy behind him is supposed to take care of if they pitch
yeah.
around the guy that's batting third and things like that. So yeah, it's really interesting. Now I want to get back to this game here specifically because this was a pretty back and forth game early on, but in that second quarter, that's when things really got ugly for Indiana. The
Mhm.
Pistons go on a 21-5 run, I believe it was 21 was it 25-6 run, excuse me, which ended up being a from the 9 minute mark in the second quarter to the 3 minute mark in the second quarter. For 6 minutes, the Pacers were held to just 6 points, and that's when things really got ugly. And it was just a combination of Asar Thompson, Karis LeVert. Like the Pistons in that second quarter attempted 16 free throws. So
Mm.
to me, it was one of those games where it was like the Pacers couldn't stop fouling. Some of the calls you may not have liked. It really got ugly when Pascal was called for a flagrant foul when Tobias Harris shot a corner three, didn't give him landing space. So he ends up getting 3 free throws plus to get the ball back. Karis LeVert hits a three on their next possession. So 6 straight points. Like
Yeah.
it just kind of felt like, oh, this is a bloody nose that can't stop. You're like trying to find everything you
Hmm.
can to get it to stop. Pacers end up cutting it to 16 by the half, but they continue to do this. And it's so frustrating because we see the second half. We see glimpses of like, this is what this team could do if everything clicks right. But at the same time, you look at the first half, and it happens way too often where they are right there with the other team starters. They're maybe even leading at some points, and then all of a sudden that lead dissipates and they're down by 15, 20 points. It's one thing for a team to go on a run. It's one thing for a team to go on a 19 plus run for 6 straight minutes. That just can't happen, especially if you're trying to win basketball games.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I've been struggling with this personally, and I don't know what the answer to this is, but I often think to myself, how much of this do I blame this? How much do I blame them for? And how much do I blame on their circumstances? And because, you just said, the lack of continuity breeds all of that. And yet, I have seen a lot of moments out there on the floor where the effort just isn't where it needs to be. But also, a lot of times they give up these runs, and, defensively is where they have their struggles. And defense is one of those things. you have to be a unit. You have to know what the other guy is doing. And like I Stan Van Gundy said something that made me laugh, but it was a great point where during the Cavs game, when they signed Matthews, and he comes out onto the floor and he said, and what are they supposed to do right now? Because Garrison Matthews just checked in, walked over to Andrew Nimhard and said, "Hi, I'm Garrison Matthews. Nice to meet
Yeah.
you." Like
Yeah.
that's where we're at. And it's again, we're seeing the glimpses of this, but so many things that we have seen happen have been such basketball gods things of having to communicate with a guy that you just met to go over the screen, not under the screen.
Mhm.
And now somebody has an open three. And I'm encouraged that I'm at least seeing them fight. I'm encouraged that they're not standing for like this poor performance from themselves. But that's something that I'll almost bat back to you almost as if it's tennis. Because like when you see these things, how much of it do you attribute to, well, my analysis says they're not doing what they need to do versus what are they even supposed to do right now to an extent?
Yeah, I mean, and one play that stands out from tonight's game is just a really random one, but I'm sure you remember this. I believe it was in the fourth quarter, and I think it might have been, I don't remember who was involved, but it was Pascal as in a jump ball situation. And
Yeah.
they're at the Pacers side of the court, at the free throw line, and they're trying to get positioned. And he is telling Jay Huff to move and stand somewhere else. And Jay Huff is just hands on his knees, not moving. And I'm like, what is happening here? What is happening? And then all of a sudden, Jay Huff just won't move from where he's at. And Pascal's like, it looked like Pascal was trying to tell him to go somewhere else. Like, get on the other side of where you're currently at so I can tip this ball to you here. Well, instead, Jay Huff doesn't move. And so both Pacers guys are like on the inside of where the defender's at. And when Pascal and the ball's tipped, the Pistons get the ball and they go down, and I believe Jay Huff fouled the guy. So it was just one of those things where like Pascal's trying to communicate, like, if I tip it this way and you guys don't get it, it's an easy 2 points for them. And right now I don't want to do that. And Jay Huff just kind of seemed like, one, I'm tired because he'd been playing a lot, and two, just kind of like miscommunication. And we've seen Jay Huff do this a couple other times too, where Rick Carlisle will call play and he'll go to the wrong spot and different things like that. I'm not picking on Jay Huff. I'm just saying, like, new guy trying to get integrated with the system. Haven't really seen much because he's a center and they're asked to do different things. Most of the time, like Garrison Matthews, it's like just stand in the corner, cut, go to the other corner. Like, it's not that, drastic of like a, hey, do this, do that. But yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. Like, it's hard to have analysis. I've definitely come up with hot takes on the podcast. I'm sure you've heard them. And it's just like, I'm not trying to be like Mr. Hot Take guy where I'm saying like, I don't know if Jay Huff's like an NBA player. That was probably too hot of a take. I don't think he's a reliable second string center. He can provide some moments for you, but like, I don't know, like Garrison Matthews, like the idea of him is interesting, but like, why are we playing him, a guy on a 10-day hardship, over a guy like Talon Peter? Someone that you already have on a two-way deal that you want to invest in that could play the two next to TJ McConnell. You could play Jarace at the three. You got Jeremiah Robinson Earl. You've got Jay Huff. You've got Bradley. So it's like you don't really need another wing out there, but apparently you feel like you do. And then, I don't know, but I want to throw this out at you. It's kind of like a little bit of a pivot here. My friend Tom Lewis tonight referred to Garrison Matthews as Gary Bird, and I'm curious your thoughts on that nickname.
Oh man. Well, I'm going to have to see him make a couple before I'm on board with that. But I think that the theory is certainly there.
I love it.
I'm just waiting on the execution, as it were.
He didn't really get a lot of attempts tonight, did he? Like one shot, maybe?
I think so. Yeah, something like that.
Like, he came in that Cavs game and he was fire away. Ricochet, titanium, Hey, anyway, you know what I mean. But it's just, yeah, it's tough. And like, that's what I've been saying about Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Like, he actually had a really good game tonight. Like, hit his open shots,
Yeah.
played much, much better than he did the last couple of games where I'm just like, what is he providing for us offensively? But you think about this game, and the free throws were pretty even. They evened out after the first and second halves were kind of a little bit lopsided. The second half more in favor of the Pacers. But the rebounding battle is where it really comes down to.
Whoa.
45-30 in favor of Detroit, but they had 14 offensive rebounds to Indiana's 5. And so to me, when you're getting second chance points, like that's a huge, huge thing. And just opportunities, like the Pacers were fighting so hard, and they're playing this zone defense too, in addition to man-to-man, trying to figure out what works best for them. And I like the zone defense a lot for J Huff. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but like just having a 7-foot tall guy at the rim all the time, like seems like a good idea. And
Yeah.
not having him have to like recover from the 3-point line to do that is also a good idea, especially with how out of breath he looks all the time. So I like that they're throwing some different stuff out there, but eventually you see enough of this on tape, teams are going to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, and then, what the thing about the zone defense is too, you have to worry a little bit less sometimes in a zone defense about the I'll call it the militant communication that man-to-man defense requires, where you have to know where the next guy is going in your rotations, and if your zone, you can be a touch more free form with it, which I think is when you're trying to learn some of your teammates' names is kind of is kind of nice, and that's you talk about the lack of communication. I think about, so I'm missing one of the only shows that I've ever missed for my band on Wednesday, because my wife and I are going up to see her family, and there's a guy who we know who's filling in for me. We've been practicing with him, and we will say, okay, well, we're going to do this song next. And I'll say, all right, intro goes like this. And then after that, you're good. And I'm like, okay. So they practice it. They start the intro. And next thing you know, in the first chorus, there's like 2 stops, and there's like things that you have to take into account. And it's stuff that now he's not prepared for, that I never even thought to tell him, because it's such second nature to me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're talking about the Pascal situation with the jump ball, that's all I'm thinking about, of like, this team has been the same team almost exactly for nearly 3 years now. These are the things that they have not had to talk about in a while. These are the things that they just know each other. They know how things are going to go. They haven't had to have that kind of communication, because everybody knew everybody else like the back of their hand. And so it's one of those things where there's such a learning curve, and that's why I'm trying to be encouraged by the little things. I'm trying to be encouraged by the fact that they are getting closer and closer to a win, because it's like everybody's figuring it out a little bit more, and they're just getting a little bit closer together. And you have to think eventually the tide's going to turn at least a little bit in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule has not been the friendliest to them, right? They've had a much
Yeah.
tougher schedule, especially if you look at the Thunder's first 18 games. The Pacers probably have a couple more wins under their belt, I would say, if that was the schedule they were facing. But then again, this has been a very rough season of injuries and lack of continuity and things like that. So it is a lot of just kind of like figuring out a puzzle without all the pieces, and that's where it's really hard, because you're trying to put it together, but you're like, I'm missing a Furphy over here. I'm missing a Quentin Jackson over here. You obviously know Tyrese is out, so you're not worried about that piece, but it's just like, you never know who's going to go. But like, I would say, like, at least since Matherin's come back and McConnell's come back, you haven't had any added injuries to the list, which, knock on wood, is a good thing, but it's just tough. So we are getting close to the end here of this recap, and I have yet to talk about our sponsors. So I want to just say that this episode you're listening to is brought to you by the good folks over at Ripple Bagel and Deli in Broad Ripple, Indiana. Casey, I'm curious, have you ever been to Broad Ripple, Indiana and had a Ripple Bagel and Deli?
I've been to Broad Ripple. I don't know that I've ever stopped in it, honestly.
Okay. Because you're in Columbus, so you're quite a far drive from Broad Ripple. I would encourage you and your wife and some of your friends to go down to Ripple Bagel and Deli and try the setting the pace sandwich. Now, I know you're a picky eater, so if you can't do the setting the pace sandwich, you can modify it to however you like it. And maybe nothing that we put on the sandwich is something you would like. So you can just get your own sandwich, okay? They have plenty of sandwich combinations there. So I'm telling y'all, it's really, really delicious. And as you guys can probably hear in my voice, I am not 100% right now, battling some congestion, but nothing makes... What?
Who isn't?
Right. It's that time of year, obviously. But I will say, nothing cheers me up more than sinking my teeth into a juicy Ripple Bagel deli sandwich. The setting the pace sandwich is one of my go-tos. Salami, turkey pastrami on an everything bagel with cream cheese and lettuce. I mean, my God. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. But anyway, make sure you guys check them out. Love them. They are a great sponsor. Now, quick thoughts here. You're wearing a Pascal Siakam jersey. What did you like about Pascal's game tonight?
I like that, and I brought a few friends to the game, and one of them who was sitting next to me is like very, very new to basketball. And right when they came out of the halftime break, I really liked what Pascal did early. I feel like they kind of settled in and decided, okay, this is going to be a physical game. So we're going to get to the line. And I was kind of mentioning to my friend, like, if you watch Pascal over and over and over again, he's driving in, he's forcing them to foul them, and he's slowly now setting a precedent that I am going to get to the line. This is, you are not going to be able to play, because another man, Detroit's on ball defense was so like sticky and good and hard to get around. And the only way that you can really get them to like back off of you a little bit is if you force them into foul trouble early. And Pascal had, I think it was like three, bam, 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 like three times in a row he got fouled and went to the line. And it kind of set the precedent early on that they were not going to allow the Pistons to play that style of defense nearly as much in the second half, and that they were going to take advantage of the physicality if it came. I think that's that little run there is a huge reason why they started to get back into it. And that's one reason I love Pascal so much, is he is so good at the chess match that does happen in basketball, doing this so that this can happen. And in that respect, I thought he was brilliant tonight.
Yeah, I thought what he said post game was really key. He said a couple of things that stood out to me. Basically, just said, "You look at this second half, and you know that kind of shows what we're capable of, right?" Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that's just so frustrating as a player that you can put it together for 24 minutes, but not 48. And it's like it's got to be so damning when you can't do that. And then you also throw in the fact that Pascal mentioned, "I've never really been a part of a team that loses like this. I'm used to winning, and I've got to learn how to be a better leader." And I know that he posted some videos about having grace and things like that. And it's part of it. Like, it's just, this is where we're at with Pascal as this leader of this team. Like, he has been the most consistent for us. Like, we've been talking, like, Facci almost kind of cursed it, but like, he's been saying every episode, he's talking about, oh, this has been Matherin's lowest scoring night. And had he been on the night, it would have been 14 points for Ben Mathurin. Now, still outplayed Jaden Ivey, so I think that the Pacer fans can still get a one-up in the Ivey versus Mathurin, rivalry there. But, it's Pascal is consistent on a night-to-night basis where you're expecting that because, like you said, he can play chess. He can do this. He can do that. And when you look at this Pacers team and you look at the Pistons team, you might say, Rick Carlisle even said a pregame, this Pistons team, they're kind of built like the bad boy Pistons. Like, they want to go out there, they want to rough it up, they want to get physical, and Jalen Duren is a physical specimen. Cade Cunningham, a very physical guard. Karis LeVert, I wouldn't say he's the most physical guy, but he's he can be a part of a team like that.
Yeah, he's not scared.
No. Sar Thompson is a very physical player. Ron Holland's a very physical player. Of course, Beef Stew. So you kind of go down the list, and you kind of see what that culture is trying to build right there. And the Pacers, though, I think that they're looked at as kind of a soft team on the outside. But we saw this team play tough, play physical, and respond to that. And I like that you brought that up because I feel like at times we forget just how physicality is a part of the game and how the Pacers can match that level of physicality, but also they have enough finesse with their group to make big shots when they need to make big shots and just kind of have that higher basketball IQ at times to kind of sucker teams into doing things that they want. And that's really just the schematics of Rick Carlisle and his coaching staff. Jenny Busek does a great job with that as well. But at the end of the day, like you're still 2-15 and people see you as the Eastern Conference champs. So they're going to be coming for you. They're like Pascal said, they want blood. It's just a tough spot to be in. So I don't really have much to take away from this game other than it's a building block for the future.
Yes.
And hey, the Raptors won again tonight. I think that they'll be on an 8-game winning streak for the Pacers on Wednesday heading into Toronto. And who would have saw that come with this Raptors team? I don't think a lot of people expected that. And then Friday they got the Wizards, who obviously the worst team in the NBA. And then on Saturday they play the second night of a back-to-back at home against Chicago, who's been very up and down. And we've talked about them as well. So I don't know what's next for this Pacers team, but I'm trying not to have any expectations and just take it one game at a time because it's still early in the season, but at the same time, being 13 games under 500, that's a pretty steep hill to climb up.
Yeah, and it's not fun, but we're seeing every single member of this team gain lessons that are going to be very important when this team is good again, because this team will be good again. I was joking around with a coworker the other day and I said, hey, we're down to only a third of the roster out due to injury. That's the reality that we're in right now. What we're seeing is an absolute mirage. And it's one of those, I talk about the movie The Replacement starring Keanu Reeves a lot, which it doesn't have the best rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's a lot of fun to me. And there's a scene where they're talking about the entire team is talking about their fears, and everybody's talking, I'm scared of bees, I'm scared of spiders, or whatever. And Keanu Reeves' character says quicksand, and everybody's like, oh yeah, no, I don't mess with quicksand, whatever. And the coach, played by Gene Hackman, says, no, I don't think that's what he's talking about. You need to listen. And Keanu begins to talk about how, you're playing a game, everything's going great, and then you make one mistake, and then you're so focused on not making the next mistake that you make the next mistake. And then everything starts to go wrong, and the more that you struggle to get out of it, the deeper and the deeper that you sink. And we're in a quicksand season right now. One little thing went wrong right at the beginning, and then it compounded and compounded and compounded. And I think legitimately, and this is not my blue and gold glasses talking, this is the kind of stuff that these young men need to go through in order to get that grit, in order to get that determination that is going to, the next time, if God forbid you're in game 7 of the NBA finals again and somebody important goes down, those players are going to be ready for that now.
Yeah.
We saw late game situations against bad teams where they almost blew it last year. And I came on this show, I was like, I'm telling you, dude, this is good experience, even if it is having to steal a win against the Nets. At some point during the playoffs, they're going to need to make a comeback. Now, I had no idea that the comebacks were going to be what they were going to be. But it's like, no matter what happens, it's all good experience. And you see Pascal learning to be a better leader. I feel like during the first few games, he would kind of, look around and there's Jeremiah Robinson Earl and there's Mac McClung and there's Tony Bradley, and he doesn't know who to pass it to. So he's like, screw it, I'm going to put up a tough shot. And I feel like in the last few games, he has gone a little bit from fine, I'll do it myself, to fine, I will help make this happen for us together. And those are the little things that everybody needs to learn, inching their way toward having grit, having toughness, having determination when it ends up mattering. And frankly, there's no real bad outcome for the Pacers in this season, because in the disaster scenario, you get a stud in the draft, and in the best case scenario, you surprise everybody all over again. So it's like you said, at this point, we kind of have to be just vibing and looking at the game within the game, because that is what the humans who are out there actually doing the playing and who are actually out there coaching are doing. You're at a point where you want to win the game, but if Jarace Walker has his breakout night, if Jay Huff has his breakout night that brings him out of his shooting slump, that makes him an NBA player again, if everybody breaks out a little bit here and there, and then you find a way to gel together, that's the key. That's the goal, regardless of what your record is when you do it, because next year is going to be when it matters anyway.
Well, that's a great point, right? It's kind of like taking 2 steps back to move 3 steps forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's more like taking 10 steps back to take 15 steps forward at this point, because you are taking a drastic drop off of being the 4th seed in the East to now the 14th seed. But, last year you were the final team standing out of the East. You were the second best team in the league with a game 7 on the line to win it all. So if you can go out there and get a stud, and anybody that says, oh, well, who wants a draft pick? They're not going to help winning next year. It's like, yeah, they could.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of young players step up. I mean, look at Andrew Nembhard in his rookie season was a starter. His second year, he's making a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. So
in the right role too. And that's the thing. I think that is the trump card in all of this, is that like the Mavericks right now are relying on Cooper Flag. They need him, and they need him to be great. If the Pacers end up with a DeBonsa or a Boozer or a Peterson or whoever, anybody there in that top 10, they are an asset to something that already is working really well. They're an asset to something that is already a well-oiled machine. And that, I think, is the difference between a lot of these stud rookies that come in. Look at the way that Kuminga affected winning for the Warriors when he was the guy who they accidentally tanked for. I'll put it that way, because they weren't, they had a terrible season with injuries and stuff too. And they ended up with a guy who they didn't necessarily need, but they sure could use him. And that, I think, is the difference between a lot of the teams who are getting these high-level prospects and the Pacers, where, if you get a Darren Peterson or whatever, who do you kick out of the starting lineup for him? It's like you don't. Where does he fit into the rotation? Well, he's shoehorned into the rotation because now at that point you have an embarrassment of riches. And that is how we just saw it with the OKC Thunder, right? They can play 1 through 11 because they keep loading themselves up with young studs. That's how you get to a chip. So I don't think it's just, oh, well, the rookies never contribute to winning. You take a good player and you put him in the right role on a team, especially that doesn't necessarily need him. That's a completely different scenario to me.
Yeah, and honestly, like, OKC, they just have an embarrassment of riches, right? Like, it's ridiculous. And with those embarrassment of riches, they're able to trade the 6th overall pick in the draft from the 2021 draft, I believe it was, and go out there and get a 6-man defensive stopper in Alex Caruso. They were able to do that because they hit on other draft picks like a Chet Holmgren, like a J-Dub, right? AJ Mitchell, someone else that they hit on recently. I mean, they have just had so many swings, and going back to the batting order, like, they've had so many swings to go out there and make a hit where they've had some falls, like Poku was a fall, I'm trying to think who else they traded to the Hornets. Was it Trey Mann? Was it Trey Mann they drafted in?
I think honestly, I can't even keep track of all of the Thunder getting and trading
Yeah.
away great young players, which serves your point, but I have no clue anymore.
Yeah, Nikola Topic, another guy, like he's dealing with like a cancer situation, like it's crazy, like really sad for him. Zhang, another guy they drafted, so it's just like
Yeah.
they've had some misses, but they've had some major hits, and so they can afford to do that, and they still have a chance to maybe get 2 or 3 lottery picks this year again because of all the trades they've
Yeah.
made. So it's like, yeah, well, let's not talk about that. Let's just hope the basketball gods say like, okay, we've given them too much at this point. Let's
Yeah, we deserve this one. Jeez.
yeah, let them fall to 13, 14, or 12, 13, 14 in the lottery. Like that would be a great spot. But knowing them, they would still find the stud in the draft. But
Right, yeah. They draft the next Giannis somehow that nobody even realized was in the draft.
yeah. So anyway, like yeah, this is just kind of where we're at. But 2-15, you're playing better basketball. You're kind of seeing a glimpse of what this team could look like, potentially healthy. I mean, you throw a healthy Obi Toppin and an Aaron Nesmith in this game in the rotation, and you're like, maybe they win these games. So, like, that's one way to look at it. Even if you throw like Furphy and Quentin Jackson too, like that's 4 players that would probably be getting rotational minutes at some point with who's on the floor right now. So that's one way to look at it. But at the end of the day, that's what you got. You can't look at what you might have because you don't have it, and just focus on that. But Casey, I appreciate your time. Anything you want to plug before we sign off here?
I mean, I'm at Casey on the drums on all forms of social media. I'm the drummer for Night Owl Country Band. So if we're going to be in your area, be sure to check us out. I was telling Alex, there is an announcement coming up for the band that like I mean bands tease announcements all the time and then it's like I was nominated for an award or whatever and it's like not something that lives up to the hype of the announcement. This is legitimately life changing.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to be announcing it somewhere around the beginning of the year, is when the press release is going to be released, by not us, by the way. It's not a press release that we're doing. It's a press release that we're a part of. So I would absolutely love for any of you to come on this ride with us because things are about to get absolutely insane.
That sounds exciting, and I will be glued to my phone.
I'll be sure to let you know.
Yeah, once you post it, I will repost it for you. And yeah, that's exciting news. Casey is a great drummer, and I will say that for Halloween, he went as the one and only Dusty Rhodes, a former WWE wrestler, father of Cody Rhodes, who is kind of like the face of WWE right now. So it was pretty cool. Great job with the. Can you give us a little Dusty Rhodes?
Oh God, no. That there, I don't think there's any way to do that without offending somebody. Either you do Dusty well, or you're just making fun of people. Like,
okay, who you making fun of if you do a Dusty Rhodes impersonation?
You know, it's 12:20.
Swing for the fences.
Oh no, I'm not swinging for the fences. We're all good on that. I will say though, if you thought Dusty was cool, just wait on next year.
Okay, there is another teaser from the one and only Casey Johnson, the king of the tease. So, with that being said, Pacer Nation, really missed Facci not being able to make this one. He was devastated. So, just keep Facci and his family in your thoughts right now. He could use the positive vibes. But Facci and I did pre-record an episode Sunday that'll be airing on Wednesday. So hopefully you guys get a chance to tune into that, where we go and do a little bit of a giving thanks for each player on the roster. And so split the roster in half and then gave some shout outs to some former Pacers from the beginning of the year that are no longer on the team. And we did not include the training camp guys just from the start of the season. So thought it was a fun episode, and we didn't really do the who is the turkey of the team, who is the mashed potatoes like I do every year. There's still a chance I might do that as an extra bonus episode if you guys really want that, but I have probably ran that gimmick into the ground after the past 5 years of doing it. So Facci was like, thank God we're not doing this again. And I was like, you've done it once with me. So I might just do it in spite of Facci. That's just kind of how I am.
There you go.
You think I should?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, I'm an agent of chaos. I I just like when everything goes haywire. So I say go for it. Why not?
I might just actually make Facci like the roll or the cranberry sauce. He said, "You love yourself a good roll." I said, "Who doesn't love a roll at Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Who doesn't like bread?" I mean, seriously. I mean, well, he was like, "I don't know why you think a roll's that great." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You can make a ham sandwich out of it, a turkey sandwich out of it. It goes with mashed potatoes. If it gets a little gravy on it, it's got a little savory taste to it. Like, what are we doing? It's good."
Yeah, it's not our fault that you don't understand versatility.
Yeah, well, he's a pretty plain Jane kind of guy, so that's that's how it goes here with Foch. But anyway, it's getting late. I ran out of coffee. I'm running out of fuel over here, Casey. I appreciate you coming on because I could not have recorded one by myself tonight because too congested. I keep coughing like every 5 minutes, so I do appreciate your help. So once again, follow Casey at Casey on the drums. I'm at Alex Golden NBA, setting the pace. We're at Pacers Pod STP, and I hope you guys all enjoy your Tuesday. I know the week is short because of Thanksgiving, so enjoy it. And we'll be back tomorrow to give thanks to the 20 players, I believe, 22 players that have been on this Pacers roster at some point. So with that being said, Pacer Nation, we'll talk to y'all then. Peace out.